Right about that. Just,
Being ordinary?
You said ordinary, non-emotional, nonchalant.
Correct.
What's your definition of nonchalant?
Pretty almost detached, just calm, doesn't really matter, kind of not extraordinary.
Do you have a degree in psychology?
I do not.
Do you know what a person should act like if they're in a stressful situation?
So there isn't one way to act. There's just behavior that is striking.
Striking behavior.
Correct.
Okay. At some point when you came over to talk to me and my daughter, did we express to you that she needed her medications that were in the house?
I believe so, and that
And what did you instruct us about?
at one point I advised the detectives that were inside of that request, but that a search warrant was happening inside the house. So we would do our best to facilitate people getting things from the house. But the search warrant's going to take precedence to what's going on.
Right, so basically that it's a crime scene and we can't really enter, but someone would try to get them for her?
Correct.
Okay, and did someone go and get them for her?
At that point, we did not have a search warrant. We weren't going to be entering the house or removing any items from the house. We didn't have legal authority to go in and remove items without a search warrant. So nothing was going to be removed from the house at that point.
But you were aware that she needed her panic attack medicine?
I was a-
Objection as to testifying and asked and answered.
Sustained, you can ask her if she was aware that she needed that medication.
You were aware that she needed her medication?
I was aware you made a request for her medication.
And it would have been non-emotional if I was trying to be calm for my daughter?
I'm going to object to speculation.
Sustained.
Were you being calm?
I believe so.
Was Officer Krautheim being calm?
I think so.
Were the firefighters being calm?
I didn't see the firefighters or have any interaction with them.
Were the other detectives being calm?
I believe so.
The EMS guys were being calm?
Again, I didn't see them and have any interaction with them.
But it was a pretty calm environment that day, was it not?
I don't know if I'd agree with that, but
Well, no one was running around hysterical, right?
correct.
Okay. The information that you received from the briefing, was that from Officer, is it Krautheim? Sorry, don't.
Krautheim.
Krautheim. Okay, thank you. Was Officer Krautheim the one that gave you the briefing on what had happened?
So Officer Krautheim and Officer Wisbicki, who Sergeant Wisbicki now, provided information to the detectives and my sergeant that had arrived.
And then who briefed you personally?
So it's a kind of a collective conversation where the initial information is provided and then we start doing assignments, basically.
Right, so Officer, sorry, say his name one more time.
Krautheim.
Krautheim. Okay, I'm going to write that in
I'm
phonetically.
going to again object
I'm sorry.
to testifying.
So he was wearing a body cam, is that correct, that day? Officer Krautheim.
Correct.
And so was that briefing on body cam?
I don't know.
Now, you talked about the death notification to me and to Tylee. You said that Tylee and I were in the van. Is that correct?
Correct, when I came over to talk to you.
And who was with you?
My sergeant, Sergeant Lockwood.
And was Detective Moffat not with you as well?
He was not.
And so you had stated that you had asked me to get out of the van? Is that correct?
I was trying to get you to come. My intention was to get you to come out of the van. And then you made a statement that you were there. You already knew.
What did you say that made me say that I was already there?
I was asking you to step out of the van. And you said, I was there. I already know.
I already know what?
That Charles had died. I was trying not to tell you in front of your daughter.
That would have been nice, but that wasn't the point. How did I know you were coming to give me a death notification?
Can you object to speculation?
Sustained.
Did you notify me that I'm going to give you a death notification? I don't want to do it in front of your daughter? What did you say?
It would be slightly redundant to tell you I was doing a death notification if I didn't want to tell you in front of your daughter.
Why would I say to you, I already know?
Sustained, that's, the form of the question calls for her to speculate about your state of mind.
So did you speak to me giving me a death notification, or was it Lockwood, sorry. Who spoke to us?
We were both involved in the conversation.
And what was said to us?
You said that you were there and you already knew. And at that point, shortly thereafter, I asked you if you and Tylee would come back to the station to do interviews so I could talk with you.
You asked us if we would come, or you said we're going to go down to the station and interview you?
I asked you if you would come. It was a consensual contact. It was a voluntary interview.
And is this on body cam?
I did not have a body cam at the time, no.
Did Lockwood have a body cam?
He did not. He was assigned to investigations.
So we voluntarily went to the station, is that correct?
Correct?
And you drove, is that correct?
I did.
And it was a 20 or so minute drive.
About that.
And we arrived at the station, and you separated us into 2 rooms, is that correct?
Correct.
And did you ask me permission to speak to my minor daughter?
I indicated to you that I wanted to interview both of you and that we would go do the interviews in the Family Advocacy Center.
And what is the protocol for interviewing a minor?
It depends on the circumstances where you're interviewing them.
Okay, and are you a certified forensic interview of children?
I am.
And so would that be something that you would ask the parent if you could interview the minor child?
It depends on the circumstances.
Okay, and did you ask me?
I did not specifically ask your permission.
Did you ask Tylee if she wanted to be interviewed?
Can I even object to hearsay?
Well, the question, I'll overrule the objection. The question is, did you ask Tylee yes or no?
I did at one point ask if I could speak with her.
Did either of us know that we were being videotaped?
I don't know.
Were we told that we were being videotaped?
No.
At that time, when we entered into the rooms, you left Tylee in there alone and came in to interview me. Is that correct?
Correct.
And how long was that interview that you and I had?
I think it's It's about 35, 40 minutes, maybe a little longer.
And so that whole time, Tylee was in the room by herself,
Correct.
not knowing she was being videoed. Correct.
I don't know if she knew or not.
And without her medication. Correct.
I don't know, but I believe so.
And I was worried about her, if you recall. Is that correct?
Object to relevance.
Sustained.
Do you always wear your gun when you are doing a forensic interview of a child?
The majority of the time now, yes, because my assignment's different. When my assignment was in our family violence unit and I was doing forensic interviews of child victims, then no.
Did you treat us like we were victims that day?
Actually, yes.
And did you think that wearing your gun might be intimidating to a child?
No, given her age, no.
Is that your normal protocol?
An object asked and answered.
She can answer. Overruled.
For which part?
For wearing your gun doing a forensic interview of a child?
So I wasn't doing a DFI of Tylee. I was doing an interview with a witness to a scene. If it was a DFI, it would be different.
How would it be different?
So a dedicated forensic interview of a child is much different. It's structured much different. It's conducted much differently, and they're typically done of victims of very specific allegations. Physical child abuse, sexual child abuse, things along those lines. The interview with Tylee was done basically as a witness interview. I did defer some to almost like a victim status, but her interview wasn't a DFI. It wasn't done as a dedicated forensic interview. She was a witness, a potential witness to a homicide.
How long did you interview Tylee for?
I believe we talked for about similar amount of time, 30, 40 minutes.
At the time, that day on July 11th, did you believe Tylee?
I'm going to object.
Sustained.
With your experience in forensically interviewing children, did you think Tylee's demeanor was genuine that day?
I'm going to object to speculation.
Sustained.
Did you have a reason to think that she might be making something up?
I'm going to object again to speculation.
Sustained.
Did you learn during Tylee's interview?
I'm going to object right there to hearsay.
Sustained.
Did you learn during my interview that Tylee came in with a bat?
I did.
And was that confirmed by Tylee?
And I'm going to object, Your Honor, pretrial ruling
yeah.
hearsay.
Sustained.
Your Honor, can we have a sidebar?
No, that's hearsay. It's sustained.
At the end of our interviews, Detective Inklin, where did you put us?
You stayed in the Family Advocacy Center until we were ready to leave.
And did you put us in a room with a victim's advocate
I did.
and introduce us to her?
I did.
And we spoke to her.
I believe so, yes.
And then after however long that was, then you came in with my brother Alex. Is that correct?
We met them outside of the Family Advocacy Center, and then we left to go back to the house.
And you stated that I chatted the whole way back. Is that correct?
You did.
It wasn't Tylee and Alex chatting the whole way. It was me specifically.
You mostly.
It wasn't me just looking out the window and them talking to you.
I'm going to object to asked and answered.
You can answer. Overruled. You can answer.
Can you ask it again?
It wasn't Alex and Tylee speaking to you and me just looking out the window the whole way home.
No.
And then when we got back to the house, what happened then?
You, Tylee, and Alex left in the rental car, the little red like SUV, and I spoke briefly with the detectives who were on the scene.
Who told us to leave in the rental car?
I don't recall who told you. I just know that Alex could not take his vehicle because the search warrant was still going and the vehicle was on the curtilage of the property.
Right. So we were told we couldn't take the truck. Is that correct?
I believe so.
And we were told we couldn't take Tylee's Jeep. Is that correct?
Correct, it was in the garage.
And we couldn't take my car because it was in the garage as well.
I believe so.
And so our only alternative, because we couldn't enter the house, is that correct?
Correct.
And that we were told that we could come back later, but not at that time. Is that correct?
At the conclusion of the search warrant, yes.
And so we were told that we could take the rental car because it wasn't behind the police tape. Is that correct?
Correct, it wasn't part of the search warrant.
That we could leave and that we could come back later after we picked up JJ from school. Is that correct?
You could come back, assuming you picked him up from school, yes?
Well, that's not what we were instructed to do.
Objection, again, testifying.
Sustained.
So we left, is that correct? And then you entered the house after that?
You left, correct, and I entered the house after that, correct.
And what did you do inside the house after we left?
I had some brief discussion with the detectives who were on scene and at that point left to go work on another case.
So in the brief discussions that you had with whoever this was, were you briefing them on the events of what had happened up to that point, or?
So Detective Coons and Detective Duncan were present, along with Detective Werther. There was a crime scene technician as well, and they were briefly discussing some of the artifacts that they had found in the search warrant and kind of what they were going to do. And I indicated if I wasn't needed, I was going to go work on other casework.
Okay. And then you left shortly after that?
I did. I honestly have no idea.
You realized you didn't have Charles' phone, is that correct?
They had indicated prior to you coming back that they had not recovered Charles's phone. So when you returned, I asked you and subsequently Tylee about Charles's phone and where it was at.
And did she hand over the phone to you right away, right?
She did. She picked it up out of the cup holder and handed it to me.
And that's where it had been pretty much the whole day since I ran out the door with it.
I'm going to object to speculation and
Sustained.
testifying.
And then you asked us for the code, is that correct?
I did.
And Tylee gave you the code, is that correct?
Correct.
And that was about what time?
It was later in the afternoon, but I don't remember what time.
And then what happens to the phone as far as chain of custody? What happened from you taking it from Tylee to where it went next?
So our computer crimes detectives work within the main station where I work. Most of our detectives work out of there. And they do the physical exams and the downloads of the phones, computers, electronic devices there at the station. Our property room is separate. It's about a mile away from the police department. So typically when we have cell phones or devices that need exams, we will immediately deliver the device to the computer crime section. Their workspace, their cubicles and workspace upstairs is a dedicated locked area. The only people that can get into where their cubicles and exam space are the detectives that work in that area. So it sounds silly. We go up and bang on the door and get in touch with somebody, and we will turn devices over to them. And then in our property section and our report management, we do what's called an evidence continuity sheet. So that shows how items travel from place to place, person to person, like a phone to a computer detective, or like evidence from the property room to the lab or something like that. So we will physically hand over items to the computer crimes detectives. Often cell phones have very time-sensitive criteria as well. So we don't typically impound them straight into property. They go straight to a computer crimes detective.
Okay, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Thank you for that. I'm going to backtrack to, from your hands, it goes into a evidence bag?
No, it's usually in a bag. It's not sealed because we hand it over because they're going to do an exam.
So who did you hand it over to them at the station, or did you give it to someone else at the house?
No, it got handed over at the station in their workspace. They typically don't come out to scenes unless we request them. So the majority of the time we're turning evidence over to them at the station or their work area.
Okay, so just so I understand, it went from you to them.
Correct.
So you had it in your hands and delivered it to them at the station that day?
I believe so, yes.
And so according to the grand jury, it was at 3:11 p.m.
Your Honor,
Oh, sorry.
The objection sustained.
My understanding was that it was about
Hold on,
3.
hold on.
objection.
Let's break for the evening recess. Let's have the jurors report and be ready for 10:15 tomorrow morning, 10:15. Please remember the admonition.
All rise for the jury.
No longer present. All right, you can't phrase questions as your understanding or what you believe or what you remember. All those are forms of testifying, so you have to be careful how you ask your question. Also, I sustain an objection because of the reference to the grand jury and what was said in the grand jury proceedings. You can use that time and ask the witness, is 3:30 sound right, for example? But let's move on. The reason that I allowed in the various different clips of the defendant's statement over the defendant's, I should say, interview at the police station over the defendant's objection, Rule 106 isn't really applicable in that situation. Rule 106 is intended to complete a statement when only a portion of the statement is offered and it distorts or changes the meaning of the actual statement. And it's really meant for very short statements, not entire interviews or versions of what happened. Additionally, the state has the discretion to only admit certain parts of your statement that are admissions. They're not going to admit statements, nor should they admit statements that are self-serving hearsay. So there's a reason why your interview has been cut up into different pieces. That's just for the record. Let's have everyone ready at 10 a.m. tomorrow. We'll discuss those other motions, give the defendant a chance to meet with her team about those other motions that we talked about this morning. So we'll do that at 10. We'll have the jury here and ready to go at 10:15 to resume with this witness. Anything else from the state?
No, Your Honor.
From the defense?
Yes, we have one item, Your Honor. On Thursday, we were handed this by the state in the morning. It's a new extraction of the devices of Charles Vallow, and it's the gray key that we had requested, but none of them open. So we have a flash drive, and we got it to our expert, and now it's,
Go there.
you what?
I have to go see him. He doesn't.
So they're not opening. So I don't know if we need to get a new extraction or if it was tested
Well, I
before
don't-
it was handed over.
I don't know if it's a matter of what program's being used to open it. Do we know? I think we need more information.
Yeah.
We can't utilize it if it's blank,
Well, is
so.
Mr. Dworkin says he can't open it at all?
It's my investigator that can't open it, and then he'll hand it over to Mr.
Why
Dworkin
don't you
as well.
just tell me, sir? What's your name for the record?
Jeff White.
All right, what's the problem?
I tried to open it. I had Lonnie on the phone this morning. He's out of town, but he is on his way he's on his way back. He won't be here till probably 6 to 7 o'clock tonight. And I need to go up and see if he's able to extract any information from it.
Are you just trying to click on it and opening it, or are you opening
No,
it with a
we-
particular
I
program?
sat with him and we were going over things for about 4 hours this morning.
Okay. I guess, where's the extraction coming from? Who's handing that over to you?
That is the Chandler Police Department handed over the raw data from Gray Key. So it's just raw random data, so I don't know it.
So it's not, is it,
It's not parsed into any sort of way to read.
The reader. That's what I was working with Lonnie.
There is no reader with it. It would have to be then input into a Cellbrite to parse the data. It is the Gray Key raw data.
all right.
And was trying to do that this morning, and that's what I spent 4 hours doing this morning.
I think unless you have a Cellbrite account, you're not
I have-
going to be able to open that.
I have two different kinds of, I have the old version and the new version of Cellbrite, and I couldn't get them to open. The Cellbrite that they gave us is an old version, the 7.2, I think it is, and I think.
They gave us? We
I'm
didn't
sorry?
give you Cellbrite.
It's on the.
That's a UFED reader. That's not Cellbrite.
The Cellbrite is on the Discovery, is on the,
With that,
I'm sorry?
with the Discovery we just handed over,
With the Discovery that was handed over before, it's downloaded onto my computer.
no, I think that's right.
All right.
With the FDRs.
I'm not sure that
I've
that's
got two
correct.
different
I
ones.
think that it would need to go to Mr. Dworkin to review.
Is there someone at the police department that Mr. Dworkin can maybe get on a call with to try to figure out what the disconnect is here?
Well, he should be, hopefully, in the next hour and 40 minutes, he'll be back home.
I guess if he has a problem, I mean, obviously I have multiple problems with the fact that we're still talking about an expert that has been presumptively precluded
Right.
while the state is nearing ending its case in chief.
I
That being
guess in
said,
theory, it could be for the next trial, but I don't know that that's going to happen either.
So I guess I would need to know first if that's actually a problem for Mr. Dworkin or not. And then if so, we would have to try to, perhaps he could explain why it's a problem.
I guess, is there someone Mr. Dworkin a contact point to try to figure out why, if it's a problem on this end versus that end?
I don't have anyone off the top of my head. My case agent is out ill today, so I couldn't tell you who that would be.
Okay.
Your Honor, she had an expert come to testify this about the gray key. I don't know if he's a person that was on the stand on Thursday that we could ask about this. I don't know if he made the extractions and gave them to the prosecution.
I don't know if that's technically an extraction as opposed to the raw data.
That is just the raw data.
I'm still trying to figure out, is it a problem with what's been disclosed, or is it a problem with who's trying to open it, the correct programs? I guess get with Mr. Dworkin later tonight and see if it can be resolved. If not, I'm going to have to figure out who he needs to contact or try to problem solve tomorrow sometime.
We'll let you know in the morning, Your Honor.
But again, this is unlikely to be an issue for this trial, but it could be something for the next trial. All right, we'll be at recess. I wish I had a better resolution, but I don't right now.